Listen,
get a
listen.
lawyer.
We have a dead baby in room 206. Okay, you were the last person with Trinity.
What happens when you invite a sadistic monster you barely know into your child's life? This is a question I hope you never have to answer yourself, but it's one that we will be looking at in today's video. This horrific case takes us to an awful living arrangement that resulted in the heartbreaking death of an innocent 2-year-old. Her injuries are one of the most gut-wrenching that we've covered in any case so far, leaving us wondering, what kind of human could do this to a child? Let's take a closer look at how and why this happened. Gwinnett County, Georgia. Located in the north-central portion of the U.S. state, this county has almost 1 million residents and is the most ethnically diverse place in Georgia. With highly rated public schools, restaurants, and parks, this is a beautiful place to settle down and start a family. Trinity Maria Kyles was born on April 9, 2019, to Rosie Kyles in Savannah, Georgia. From the outset, Trinity was instantly loved by everyone who knew her. Her bright brown eyes and her sweet smile could light up the darkest of days. Her mother lovingly nicknamed her Trin, and she was proud of her adventurous spirit as Trinity showed early signs of leadership and independence. According to her mother, the couch was her playground. She thought it was the funniest thing to jump off the couch and run around barefoot. She was the happiest when dancing to her favorite song, Usher's ABC Song by Sesame Street. The 2-year-old loved watching that show and PJ Masks. She also loved playing on her labeled tablet and thought it was hilarious to hang up on video calls from her grandparents and other loved ones. It's something her family claims she got a kick out of. Trinity was just a baby, but she was already showing signs of a big personality and a wicked sense of humor. As much as Rosie wished to spend more time with her daughter, she was a single working mother doing her best to provide Trinity with a good life. In 2021, she met Malik Kyrie Kennedy online. He was a 24-year-old man from Duluth, and feeling some connection with him, they started dating and living together. It's important to note, though, that Kennedy is someone Rosie hadn't known for very long. She didn't know him well enough to understand his temperament or how he behaved when she wasn't around him. At that point, Kennedy would put on a front to make sure she would overlook his anger issues, but even this mask would occasionally slip.
Anything can agitate me. Anything.
Rosie would work hard to provide for her little family. She'd frequently leave her boyfriend with Trinity at the Quality Inn Hotel, where the three had been living. They had to live there because they had recently been evicted from their apartment. Finances were tight, but Rosie tried to hold it all together. She knew that her boyfriend was feeling frustrated with taking care of the little girl. After all, Trinity was at an age that required a lot of patience and maturity to deal with. A 2-year-old loves testing boundaries, which is considered a normal part of their development. As any parent would know, throwing tantrums, hitting, biting, screaming, and many other unpleasant behaviors are normal for a toddler who is just starting to understand the world. Taking this into account, Rosie was working extra hard to put Trinity in daycare, where her needs will be better met, and Kennedy, who she knew was unaccustomed to children, would no longer have to babysit her almost 5 days of the week. Unfortunately, this was a goal Rosie was never able to fulfill. On May 2, 2021, just 1 month after Trinity turned 2, Rosie arrived to something horrible in her hotel room. At first, everything seemed normal. Little Trinity was lying on her back in the bed, looking like she was taking an afternoon nap. Rosie freshened up after a long day of work and noticed Kennedy's exasperated expression, so she discussed plans to enroll Trinity in a daycare as soon as possible. Halfway through the conversation, she checked in on Trinity, only to realize, to her horror, Trinity wasn't sleeping, she was unconscious. Rosie tried to get her baby to respond, but the normally energetic Trinity felt lifeless. Shocked and panicked, Rosie quickly dialed 911 without wasting a second. While she was on the phone with the dispatcher, an officer quickly arrived at the hotel inn, where the toddler was still unconscious. He opened the door to see Rosie and Kennedy arguing. The mother was clearly distraught as she pleaded with her boyfriend for answers.
Yes, my baby. Oh my God, baby. Tell him what happened.
Okay,
I
so
don't care.
basically, I ended up giving her melatonin to like go to sleep.
No, babe. What did you do?
I gave her melatonin so she could go to sleep. I didn't think she would like freaking do all that.
No, but I don't know. I just got home from work and she threw up. Oh, yes. Please help me. I'm about to have a heart attack. I just got back home.
But Kennedy insisted that all he did was give Trinity a melatonin to put her to sleep. Rosie had recently started to give her child a small drop of melatonin to make her nap after she had been up all day. But now, she was anxious that Kennedy probably gave her too much, and Trinity might have had a reaction. But as we'll soon see, the actual truth is much worse than this. Rosie was beginning to get suspicious of Kennedy's melatonin story because she noticed a big bruise on the side of Trinity's face, but he kept giving her evasive answers about the injury. The officer desperately gave the child CPR, but the argument between the couple started escalating.
I need you.
I'm going to tell you everything, I swear.
Shortly after, the paramedics arrived and they worked for several minutes, while Rosie and her boyfriend were questioned outside by the officers.
That's your child?
Yes, that's
your
my
child.
That's my child.
What about him? Is it his dad? Is that the dad? Did you leave the baby with him and you went out, or what?
I was at work.
Okay.
And I just got back to work.
Okay.
Kennedy insisted that the bruising on the child's face was from him pinching her cheeks, but Rosie was skeptical and knew that he must have hit her baby on the face. She had always been firmly against corporal punishment of any kind against her child, who was too young to understand inappropriate behavior. Nevertheless, the officer kept her separate from Kennedy. For 90 minutes, Rosie anxiously waited in the police car outside her hotel as she saw more and more police cruisers arrive at the scene. Understandably, she was agitated and frightened. Up until now, she had hoped that her daughter would be okay soon and they'll reunite, but the more cops she saw, the more her heart sank. Reality was starting to set in.
I just need somebody to talk to.
I know, they're about to come talk to you. You gotta stay in the car. I know you're frustrated. You gotta stay in the car and we're gonna come talk to you in a minute, okay? You gotta, listen. Listen, I don't know anything, so you gotta stay in the car and wait for one of them.
Why are they here? Why are they here?
Put your leg in the car.
Why are they here? I need to know something. They're not
Calls
saying
like this,
anything.
everyone comes out. Calls like this, everyone comes out, okay? Just put your leg in the car and have a seat,
Oh my
okay?
gosh.
All right?
They need to tell me something. I just need to talk to somebody.
All right, they're gonna come talk to you in a minute, okay? All right. Yeah, they're coming down in a minute, okay?
They keep saying a minute. Why is it?
Her gut told her that this medical emergency had turned into a crime scene. Despite every attempt made by the paramedics, they failed to revive Trinity. The toddler was pronounced dead at the scene. Kennedy was taken to a police station for questioning, and as the security cam footage shows, he was nervous throughout the investigation. After being questioned about how frequently he had to babysit Trinity, it was obvious that Kennedy had taken on way more responsibility for the child's well-being than he should have. Fidgeting with his hands, he explained that Trinity wouldn't be disciplined by her mother, and she wouldn't let him discipline her either. But that didn't stop him. He would occasionally punish her for misbehaving by spanking, taking away her treats, or making her stand in the corner when Rosie was away. On that fateful day, the boyfriend said that the toddler was flipping out, screaming, knocking things over, spilling her juice, doing what a typical 2-year-old does every day. It was all behavior that Kennedy acknowledges he knows is normal.
Just normal kid stuff, really. But terrible too, I guess, as they say, she was saying.
But that didn't stop his irritation with her. He confessed to giving the child half a dropper's worth of melatonin, despite the bottle recommending a very tiny dose for ages 3 and up.
Like a drop, it's a drop. Just.
So how much did you give her today?
Pretty good amount. Like, it was about halfway, almost. Not really at the top level.
Doing that to a 2-year-old is extremely dangerous. Excess melatonin can cause seizures, vomiting, dizziness, and increased agitation in toddlers. In short, instead of putting her to sleep, he was too ignorant to realize he had created a medical emergency, and Trinity was obviously too young to articulate why she was in pain. Halfway through the investigation, the 24-year-old admitted to popping the little girl, but he was super vague about what that meant exactly.
There was no correction, really. It was simple as just the normal, just, like I said, popper, or grip rub.
You do what? Sorry,
grip rub, really, that's it.
Alarmed by this, the officers push him to understand why the baby's face had a bruise, to which Kennedy confessed that he pinched her hard on the left side of her face, leaving bruises and fingernail marks.
I did that on her cheek, though.
On her cheek? Which side?
Left.
Left side?
This was a new detail, and the officers maintained their pressure to get more info out of the suspect. They brought up the text messages Kennedy had sent Rosie over the course of their relationship, where he is clearly annoyed and venting to her about the baby's frustrating behavior.
I actually texted her not too long ago. It was before this, I texted her. Yeah, I was venting to her, but normally I don't text her. Or if I do, either I text her or I talk to her.
They then moved on to discussing other injuries on Trinity's head, which Kennedy admitted was because her head hit the headboard when he put her back in bed. This incident took place right after her mother left the hotel room and headed to work.
There's some other markings to the baby's face.
Yeah, she hit her head earlier today, and that was also my fault, because my mom seen it, when she walked out, and I had put her on the bed, her head hit the headboard.
You're mumbling, can you
Her head hit the headboard, basically.
So, when did that happen?
That was right before she left, right before she left.
Who left?
Rose.
Sadly, the injuries on her face weren't the only ones inflicted on her fragile body. There were many others that the young man admitted were from past beatings.
It's not my first time, I'd be pinch her or something, so, but that would be my way of, she'll tell me, you gotta find a way to, work it out or whatever it is, and I just, I'm trying to figure out, how to handle it or whatever, and that's the way I end up going about it, just, I'm a pincher.
While corporal punishment is legal in all 50 states, even on a child as young as Trinity was, it crosses the line into child abuse when, according to the laws of Georgia, it leads to physical injury or death inflicted upon a child by a parent, or other person responsible for the care of the child by other than accidental means. It's clear that Kennedy was, throughout the investigation, doing his best to downplay the extent of the severe abuse and beatings he subjected the little girl to almost daily. Alongside the head injury, the baby had multiple cuts on her lips, which Kennedy explained as the toddler biting her lips. The officers were understandably skeptical.
Okay, what about, was it a cut on the lip?
Yeah, there's multiple.
No, she bit her lip.
No.
Well,
that wasn't a bite mark.
Well, regardless of, you're going to tell me something, but I'm just going to go in my side, so she bumped her head.
What about the lip, though?
And in the lip, she bite.
Kennedy did his best to frame all her injuries as accidental, but no matter how hard he insisted, it's obvious that there's more to the story than he was willing to share.
Now, how did it happen?
Probably when I made her head on the headboard.
You made her head on the headboard?
Not I did it, I just did it, and that's the problem, and that's what's even making me go to, it's the fact that, when I did that and everything, it wasn't intentional, it's not on purpose, it's not.
Luckily, the officers already had a vague idea of what had happened. All they needed was for Kennedy to confess and cooperate to make this case clearer. Upon investigating the crime scene, they found bloody towels in the bathroom trash can. This is the point at which Kennedy finally realized that his lies had caught up with him.
So why are there bloody towels in the trash can? Tell me about that.
From her lip.
From
her lip. Her lip was bleeding.
And how did her lip get How did her lips start bleeding?
From her, I assume. Most part, I assume it was from her.
Since Kennedy was barely making sense during the interrogation, and his explanations were terrible.
You're not describing, like, you're not doing a very good job explaining it, so.
Not pretty good at all, really, when it comes to things.
Okay, take a deep breath, relax.
One of the officers brought in a baby doll to get a clearer idea of how the child was harmed.
Do me a favor and show me how you grabbed her. Like how you tossed her against the headboard.
But Kennedy refused to cooperate in any way or show what he actually did to cause Trinity's death. Aside from confessing to the melatonin, he continued to refuse explaining his actions toward the toddler. The interrogation had hit a brick wall. Kennedy never confessed to his crime, but the truth eventually came out about what he had done to the baby. An autopsy determined the child suffered an injury to the back of her head. She had several bruises on the cheeks with finger and fingernail impressions, a swollen eye, swollen forehead, and bruises on the body. This prompted the county coroner to rule Trinity's death as a homicide. The day of Trinity's death, Kennedy was trying to play video games while the baby was repeatedly screaming and not quieting down. Frustrated into an uncontrollable rage, Kennedy slammed the toddler's head repeatedly against the headboard of the hotel's bed until she became unconscious. When she woke up 2 hours later, his rage still hadn't gone away. He violently shook her until she passed out again. This action can cause shaken baby syndrome, and in cases like this, it is lethal. It may only take 1 or 2 hard shakes to seriously injure a small child. This is because babies and toddlers have relatively big, heavy heads and weak neck muscles. When a toddler is shaken, the brain bounces back and forth against the skull. This can cause bruising of the brain, swelling, pressure, and bleeding in the brain. Some babies may even stop breathing, which can cause further brain damage. If the baby survives, it can cause blindness and other permanent disabilities. Abusive head trauma is the #1 cause of child abuse deaths in kids under the age of 5 in the United States. In Trinity's case, she immediately went into a seizure after being shaken so violently. Instead of panicking, Kennedy simply watched her suffer and wiped the blood off of her mouth with the towels, which were later found as evidence. While the girl was lying in the room, officials say Kennedy never tried to call her mother or seek any emergency medical aid. Instead, officials say he drank alcohol, smoked, played video games, and went on social media. During the interrogation, it seems that Kennedy tried to excuse away his actions by claiming, "I guess I don't know my own strength," and lying that he had no idea how he hurt her.
I understand, you've been tasked out with this responsibility that you probably don't want nothing to do with. Because how old are you? 24?
24.
Okay, you don't have any kids yourself. So why should you have to be watching this child when it's not even your responsibility, right?
I don't want you to put it like that, though.
Okay, but it's been a lot to you. It's been hard on you, let's put it that way, right?
Right.
Okay, you're 24 years old, you're trying to support your girlfriend, and now you gotta support a child, and you're working full time, and now when she's working, you have to watch the child, and then you probably have to get ready for work, right? Were you supposed to work today?
Yeah.
And it blew up today.
It's a lot.
It is a lot. You're young, man. I understand. You got agitated. You're trying to play your game. She's running around screaming her head off. You're probably worried about that it's bothering the next door neighbors. But listen, man. You need to be honest with me and tell me what happened in that room, okay? Because a bottle of melatonin isn't going to hurt a baby.
Maybe it's because I was just too aggressive.
Okay. Just take a deep breath. How are you too aggressive?
Like, I just don't know my own strength. I don't know, maybe I hurt her.
It took 3 years, but Kennedy finally faced justice for this awful crime. Now, 27 years old, he was convicted of malice murder, 2 counts of felony murder, aggravated battery, and first-degree cruelty to children for the death of 2-year-old Trinity Kyles. The verdict occurred on the 3-year anniversary of the incident, and Kyles would have turned 5 that April. After the jury returned with their guilty verdict, a judge sentenced Kennedy to life in prison without the possibility of parole. The county's district attorney, Patsy Austin Gaston, said they continue to grieve with the family for this loss and hope the verdict can bring some closure. We continue to grieve with Trinity's family for this senseless loss. Although this verdict and sentencing cannot replace this little girl's future or quell her family's pain, our hope is that it brings them justice and provides them with some solace. Kennedy's conviction, while it brings a measure of closure, has left a community grappling with the heartbreak of a young life lost far too early. According to her obituary, Trinity was a little diva. She loved getting her hair done and admiring her beauty in the mirror, and it truly made her smile. She often wanted to strut her stuff at the park, take selfies with her mommy and her Roy, her bonus dad, and pose for the camera showing her baby doll and pony how to do it. Like any child her age, Trinity had a taste for the sweeter things in life. A bowl of oatmeal for breakfast, along with a strawberry Pop-Tart, was her go-to. She might have been little, but according to her mother, her appetite was mighty. The obituary goes on to state that, in her short time on this side of God's creation, she exemplified love, laughter, bravery, and joy in its purest form. She touched the lives of so many, a beloved daughter, granddaughter, niece, and cousin. Trinity was a shining, happy girl, the light of her family and the star of the hearts around her. She was joy personified. According to the 2016 U.S. Census, nearly 25% of children in America live with a single parent, usually their mother. Most divorced adults eventually cohabitate or remarry again. For example, around 75% of divorced women remarry within 10 years post-divorce. Yet, the number is lower if the woman is a mother of a minor child. Perhaps one of the reasons why relates to the documented risk involved in bringing an unrelated adult male into the home. Sometimes referred to as the abusive boyfriend syndrome, scholars note there is a statistically greater potential for instability in homes where adults and children who have no biological connection reside. It comes down to the fact they don't have a relationship established with these kids, states Eliana Gill, clinical director for the National Abuse Prevention Group Child Help. Their primary interest is really the adult partner, and they may find themselves more irritated when there's a problem with the children. As we saw in today's case, Kennedy had been irritated with Trinity since he first saw her. Of course, not all step-parents or bonus parents, male or female, struggle to bond or love the children of their new partners. There are certainly many stories of blended families thriving. But a study published in the Journal of Ethology and Sociobiology has made us aware of the risks. If their parents find new partners, children are 40 times more likely than those who live with biological parents to be sexually or physically abused. According to a Missouri-based study of children living in homes with unrelated adults, children are nearly 50 times as likely to die of inflicted injuries as children living with two biological parents. These are worrying statistics, both disturbing and scary. But how can we mitigate these serious risks? According to Dr. Laura Markham, author of Peaceful Parent, Happy Kids, she suggests delaying dating. Your priority is your child's emotional health, and that means not subjecting your child to a new partner or a series of partners. When you develop a relationship, don't be in a hurry to introduce your new flame to your child. Your kids have already lost their family, Markham says. They need time to get used to the idea of a step-parent. It won't help them to get close to a potential step-parent only to lose them. And finally, Dr. Markham suggests that a new partner should never discipline your children. Think of them as an aunt or uncle, not a parent. They should never be an authority figure in relation to your child, Markham says. There is just too much opportunity for abuse of power. I know so many situations where mothers let their new husband discipline a child only to end up terribly regretful afterwards. It is unfortunate that Trinity Kyle's bright young life turned into a cautionary tale about not trusting your most precious asset, your children, with people you barely know. On this point, everyone can agree. Trinity deserved a much better life than the one she got. What did you think of this case? Is a life sentence without the possibility of parole an appropriate punishment for Kennedy? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you want more videos like this, please be sure to like the video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on more episodes.